So, hello, my sunshines, and welcome back to another episode of Your Session with me, Dr. Deborah Brown. And we are in the guest series, which is so much fun because I know so many amazing people that have so many great things to say. And what we're doing in this series is we're talking to entrepreneurs, women that have gone into business or have done something really extraordinary. And I always know that there's a story behind the picture. All of my guests, you can look on social media, they look beautiful, they look successful, but everybody's got a story behind that. They are beautiful and successful, but they didn't start out that way. They started out doing a lot of work to grow into something really amazing. And I want to share them with you. So my guest today is someone I'm very excited about, someone that introduced me to podcasting. One time she asked me, would you like to be on a podcast? And I think at the time I didn't even know what that was. So it's true. So I didn't know. I really didn't know. I'm like, okay, I think so. Is it like talking on the radio? So she kind of was my introduction to this whole world. And she was so great at it that it actually got me excited about it. So let me introduce Sue. So Sue McCarroll is the founder of Opal Wellness Studio, and this is in Haddonfield, New Jersey. So she is a holistic health coach, certified Pilates teacher, classical Pilates teacher trainer. She's a passionate guide for women navigating the beautiful chaos of motherhood, business, and self-discovery. Sue brings a unique blend of mind-body wellness, self-compassion coaching, and real-life experience to the mic in her podcast called the Well to You podcast. She's a recovering perfectionist and former diet culture devotee, and she now empowers women to nourish themselves mentally, emotionally, and physically with clarity, vitality, and joy. Whether she's coaching clients, leading classes, or podcasting, Sue's mission is to help women stop chasing perfect and start living in alignment with who they really are. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Welcome. We're here.
No,
This is exciting.
yes, this is exciting for me too because we were talking about when I first came in. I always record guests distance.
Yes.
Right. So I don't know that I've ever recorded a podcast in a studio.
Well, we deliberately are doing it this way on purpose because I have found that me being not a technological person, I've really had to adapt in COVID, doing things on screen.
Yes.
And my heart has never adapted. And I really love the energy. It's almost like when I do sessions. I do video sessions and I don't like them because I think for me, the interaction of a person in the room is so much better, not just for us, but for the people that are with us,
That's
that are
right.
watching and listening. So tell us about you and how I read this introduction with all these amazing things you're doing. How did you get there? What was the journey? Because we all don't start out as entrepreneurs. We have this big journey. So tell us about yours.
I would say my journey is it's one of those things where like I think sometimes in our life when things are happening, we're always like, why is this happening to us? And we can't figure out like how does that fit into where I want to end up? Mm-hmm. But I feel like if you look at my journey, it's like all these unconnected pieces have led me to where I am today.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like without any one of those little pieces, I wouldn't be where I am at or who I am at this point.
I love that because I know that I changed jobs a lot when I was younger. And a lot of people gave me a lot of crap about that. Like, oh, you've only been there a year and a half and you've left. But I always left for more money, more experience. Yeah. And I think it's a smart thing to kind of share with people who are listening that are still in that journey is that being able to look at where you are and go, this isn't where I'm going to land. This is just a part of the wonderful path there.
Well, not to be dark, but I always go by that phrase, like if I'm not learning and growing, I'm dead.
It's not dark.
Right?
I believe it.
So I feel like I don't think of like you're working towards a certain point and then you just kind of like vegetate through the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Like I kind of see myself continuing to grow and do things for the rest of my life. There are a couple of things about me that like you'll see as themes throughout. So, there's a book called Zone of Genius, and I don't know that I can think of the author's name off the top of my head, but we all have the thing that we're really good at, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing that I'm really good at is teaching. And so if you look at what I've done, I might have done lots of different things, but there is this tie through the whole thing that it's teaching. I can teach anything. I can teach things I don't even know how to do myself. And I just have a way of being able to break things down. So, when I'm doing health coaching or wellness coaching, I look at it as teaching. Mm-hmm. when I'm doing Pilates teaching, obviously that is teaching, but like, it's just like all of these different things. I think that's the thread that ties it all together. And then obviously we have this other thread of like health and wellness. And I'm a highly sensitive person. And it's hard. It's really hard to be that person. And I think most of the things that I've evolved and learned and done has been to help myself make it through this world as a highly sensitive person.
You have to accommodate. And I learned that way too late in life. And we've talked about it a little bit on the podcast here, is that when your empathy is high, it's almost a neurodivergence. It's a way of looking at the world that's different. And when you say I'm essentially a teacher, that comes from empathy, because I can feel a person where they are and teach them something. And I agree. I think it's my kind of thread too, is that I think when you're a learner and a grower, some of us have the urge to really share that and what we've learned. And I love the work that you do, because I feel like there's a piece of you in all of it, because you help women with things like body image, with nutrition, with connecting their mind and body, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about today. But how did you connect to that aspect of it? What about your life took you there?
Yeah. I mean, so I was a young dancer. I was a ballet dancer as I got out of through high school and into college. And number one, I was a ballet dancer. I was really good at it. I have a lot of natural abilities, including hyperflexibility, that make you a great dancer. But I wasn't really born into a body that fits the molds of what a ballet dancer is. Now, for a long, long time, I just made my body be that way.
You fought it, right?
I just didn't eat,
Oh, okay.
I just made it happen.
Yeah.
And so I can be that, but it's not really where my body wants to be. So that the level, and I think the ballet world and the dance world are getting better with having a variety of looks and bodies. But having a son who is a male ballet dancer who has to lift those women and who currently has a stress fracture at L4, there is a piece to it that unfortunately will never go away. Part of being a ballet dancer is that you need to be lifted by men. And so there is a piece to that puzzle that the ballet world will always have to try to figure out how to overcome, because if the body expectancy changes dramatically, that can be dangerous for people that now have to lift women over their head. So I can see it from a lot of different perspectives. But for me, it was like when I was young, I just didn't eat, my go-to was 18 pretzels and an apple.
Wow. So you counted it out. So we went squarely into eating disorder category.
Yeah, you got it. I know.
Okay.
Maybe we'll touch on this later. Nope. 18 pretzels and an apple.
Yeah, that's it. I remember counting popcorn and Ritz crackers, and it was like, okay, well, you can have 6 of these or 2 of these.
Yes.
And yeah, but it's reinforced by what we're trying to achieve. That's the problem with eating disorders, is that there's something around us that tells us we're doing the right thing.
Well, and here's the weird thing, and I've talked about this before. In a way, so the dance was definitely a catapult, but I really believe that my eating disorder issues came from my need to control everything, and as my mental health expert, they'll tell me it's all about my high functioning anxiety.
Yes, that's it. And perfectionism.
That's right. And perfectionism. But sometimes dance was what saved me. So I could only get so far in to the eating part where then it would affect my ability to dance.
Oh,
and then I would have
so you
to
had
pull
a
back.
battle. Yeah.
So it was like I do, 18 pretzels and an apple for long enough to get to what I wanted to look like. But then as soon as it would start to impact my ability to perform in class, I would add stuff back in. So I would fluctuate. And I think that fluctuation is what kept me from getting to that point of no return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you had all of these things around you telling you to be different and to be smaller. And what was the point for you when you were able to overcome that? What was it? What connected for you?
I don't know. I remember, so I went to a lot of therapy as a kid where your mom makes you go.
Right.
And I'm sure you have experienced
yes.
you sit on the couch and like the kid doesn't talk at all, right?
You
Like,
know when somebody drags somebody else into therapy. It's
right.
always
And I
very
did
obvious.
feel a lot of the time, weirdly, I would feel that they were trying to make it about my mom. And I didn't think it was about my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that would like kind of annoy me. Like, why are we talking about my mom? This isn't.
Right.
And so when I was in college, so I was in college as a dance major. I didn't really want to go to college. I wanted to dance first. My parents kind of made me. There was a whole like strife about that. But I went to Rutgers, New Brunswick so that I could dance in New York at the same, like simultaneously, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's only a 45-minute train ride.
Right.
And at some point while I was in college, I decided to see a therapist on my own. I found the mental health facilities at the campus. And that woman, like, she was very like, she didn't try to evaluate why. She tried to give me tools to overcome the pervasive thoughts that were like perpetuating it. So, like, one of the things for me was always hard. Like, when I would drive in the car, when you drive in the car, this happens to everyone. So, if this happens to you, don't think it's only you. Your thighs spread out.
Yeah.
And I would look down and I would feel that was very fat. And the whole time I was driving, I would be thinking about what my thighs looked like on the seat of the car.
So this is perfect because it shows that it's not, a lot of people think eating disorders are about people outside of you picking on you and it's really not usually that. It's your own view of your body. That's a perfect example.
Your body. And maybe if you like, I think, having parents that got divorced when I was 3, I think gave me a sense of like not in control of my life at that time. I also like feel like I've always been sort of like parentified a little bit, like I don't say that because my parents are good parents, but like they looked to me like, not when I was 3, but like, if I go out to eat, my mom waits to see what I'm ordering to order, right? Like that kind of thing. My dad needs me to step into his life and help him. So I've been like that since I was young. And I'm a doer. And I'm a taker carer of.
Look, perfectionists are good people to have around because I have learned who in my life is a perfectionist and not by sometimes how well they take care of me.
That's
because
right.
The idea is that if you're a perfectionist, you want to control everything. You want everything to be okay. And empathy and perfectionism together are wonderful and terrible at the same time. Yeah. So you ended up with some anxiety as a result. So when you decided, now, were you one of those people that decided to go into this field because you had success or to go into this field because you wanted to work through things? I can tell you I went into this field to work through things.
When I
when
I was going to Rutgers, I started out as a straight up dance major and I was still trying to simultaneously dance in New York. And then I decided to double major in nutrition while I was there. I started it, right? And honestly, my reason for starting a double major in nutrition was to starve myself better.
Wow.
And then in the process of learning what I was doing to my body and working with that therapist who so she basically had me memorize this quote. And every time I would sit in the car and look down at and think about how fat my thighs are, I would say this quote to myself in my head. And it just gave me something else to do with my brain. And so it broke the pervasive thoughts that were controlling me. And that was to me, that was the turning point. But I would say at that point, I was able to get control of the negative eating habits of limitation and withholding, but I still I didn't feel good about how I looked. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that came much later for me. I don't think I felt good about how I looked until 2019.
Isn't it crazy? I've talked to so many women that we find our self-acceptance later, that so many women come into their own in their 40s and their 50s. Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful. It's a very beautiful thing, but it definitely, we look back and we feel like we've lost time. And I just think it's about having the right pieces in place and doing the work. And anybody who has a younger woman in their life, I would encourage you to think about, is that woman working in the right direction? Mm-hmm. Or is that, like our daughters, I always think of our daughters, right? You and I don't have daughters, but we have people in our lives that are like daughters. And I always think about, what can I give them that I've learned that maybe can shave a couple of years off? Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest way to do this is the mind and body connection, because we're out there in our young years, just putting ourselves out there and trying to be beautiful, and also trying to present ourselves so that we're accepted. Mm-hmm. But I think mind body connection throws that on its head
Yeah.
and makes you go, what's happening in your body? And
Yes.
do you accept it? And do you need to
right.
turn it around? So it takes that instead of what we call that extero perception and takes
Yeah.
it to intero
That's right.
perception, because the idea is that everything should be done inside out, not outside in.
Mhm.
So mind body connection was what I wanted to talk to you about, because I want to give people some info on how to start to make that shift to get those things more connected, because you could look at us and say, oh, you work on people's bodies
Mhm.
and at the Pilates studio and with coaching, and I work on people's minds in therapy.
Mhm.
But the truth of it is we both work on the mind and the body all the time.
Absolutely.
So tell me about how the mind body connection, you think, when it's not hooked up, how does that affect body image and self-esteem?
So I think that I feel like I may be jumping ahead in Deborah's
That's
agenda.
okay. That's okay.
But I think when you think about the nervous system being the central answer to what is happening in people's lives, right? So whether you're talking about illness, mental, physical, whether you're talking about like anything, right?
Mhm.
That really the answer is our bodies are designed to heal themselves. But in the world we live in, between toxins, stress, busy culture, all of these things, they force our nervous system to be in fight or flight all of the time.
Mm.
And we're not designed. So when we were cavemen, you had fight or flight and rest and relax, or rest and digest sometimes. So you have two aspects to your nervous system. Rest and digest is like the state that, you're chilling on the couch, you ate your dinner, your body's processing it. Fight or flight is like, you know, your house is on fire, you need to run out and grab all your things, right?
Right.
But
Extremes.
when we were in like caveman times, the only time you needed fight or flight. Fight or flight is not a bad thing, right? It could give us energy to do great things, right? But like I would go into fight or flight to dance. I need the energy to go out on stage and perform that way, right? But when we were cavemen, or even if you're a dancer, right? You get into fight or flight, your nerves get up, everything's pumping, your heart's pumping. You go on stage, you run from the tiger, and you burn off all the hormones that your body secreted.
So you're doing
to
something
put
with the
you
fight or
into
flight.
So when
Right.
when your body goes into fight or flight, it happens because of a cascade of hormones released by the glands and that are released because of signals sent. So if you talk about the caveman, right? The caveman sees the tiger, the brain sends the message to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus secretes the hormones. Your body goes into fight or flight. You run from the tiger. You burn all those hormones off. You stop, and you're back in rest and digest.
Because you had a reason to be scared.
Correct.
Right.
But in our world today, we are stressed and scared all of the time. So our brain is constantly secreting cortisol, which is one of the hormones that puts you into fight or flight. And the higher your cortisol level, the more stressed you are, the more you're stuck in fight or flight. And then our body doesn't get to be in rest and digest. So then it's not surprising that we have Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, migraine headaches, right? Because our body needs to be in rest and digest and fight or flight to function properly, not just one. And once we're in fight or flight all the time and our stress levels are so high, our body just gets stuck there.
And that's a lot of
And
work
that's why
to
people
get out
can't
of.
sleep.
Yes. And then what I find is then people are taking the Ambien and the Lunesta, and they're forcing the states of their body.
And this is why movement heals, why movement makes your mental health better, because when you move, your body burns off these hormones that you built up and starts to have the ability to go between fight and flight and rest and
because you're
digest.
burning off the stuff that your body released.
Correct.
And if you
So
don't,
there's nothing wrong with those hormones. They're a natural part of how the body functions, but they're not supposed to be there all of the time at that level.
So I find that I talk a lot about hypervigilance, right? So that's
Yes.
very
And
similar thing.
Hypervigilance, when someone is in hypervigilance, their brain is constantly saying to their hypothalamus, like, we're not okay. We're not okay. Keep releasing those stress hormones. Keep releasing those stress hormones. And then those symptoms and the illness that people feel are because their body's not supposed to have all those hormones in them all the time and built up. And that's why doing things like detoxes make us feel better, because the detox helps your liver pass the hormones out. Moving your body burns off the hormones, right? And then doing things like in my studio, we have something called Flow Prezzo, which is a suit that's compression and far infrared heat. And it basically forces your body into rest and digest. And that's why. And then the more you do that, your body actually learns how to do it on its own. So when people come and do it, they'll come back and they'll say, I had the best night of my sleep, like that, or sometimes people come back and say, I got this horrible cold after I did it. It's because going into that rest and digest allowed your body to process some of these things.
And I don't think some people have that cycle at all.
No,
I've been in points in my life where I did not have any
Correct.
rest.
That's
and
right.
I think what happens is the longer that we do that, the more it sticks. And I've told this, I think, before in the podcast, where I remember one day I was cutting a lemon for tea, and I'm cutting it and I'm going really fast and I'm wiping everything up. And I went, what are you running from?
Right.
Why are you acting like
Right.
someone is
Right.
attacking you
Right.
and you have to cut this lemon?
Exactly.
And I still, to this day, have to catch myself all the time, because I'll come into the office and I'll be rushing through and I'll say, wait a minute.
Yes.
Nothing is chasing me.
That's
Nothing
correct.
is going to come at me. And that's when I go back to some of the mental health end of this, which is the mantras of, I am safe, I am secure,
Yeah.
I am okay.
Yeah.
And that's from the mind perspective, we calm hypervigilance by analyzing it,
That's
right?
right.
Becoming students of our body.
Correct.
But I think for some people, incorporating the movement is a little harder. So tell us about Pilates, because a lot of people don't really know what that is.
That's right. Well, and a lot of people, meaning the whole world, thinks Pilates is something else right now.
Okay.
Pilates is trendy right now. So yoga had its moment. We all remember when CrossFit had its moment.
Yes.
And bar, right. And actually, someone just told me they think it's shifting to bar back now. And it's always going to cycle through. Everything's going to have its moment, right? But real true classical Pilates, what I teach in my studio, was developed by Joseph Pilates, a man who wrote a book about Pilates called Contrology, because it wasn't called Pilates yet, because his name was Pilates. Right. He wrote that book in 1945. So that's
wow.
Right, how
Okay.
long this has been around. He came from Germany, brought his method here to the US. So the deal is when something becomes trendy, everyone jumps on the bandwagon.
And it gets diluted.
And right. So what the joke we say now is it's like the wild, wild west of Pilates now. Mm-hmm. The majority of what people are calling Pilates right now is not Pilates. If you are not doing the 100, which is an exercise at the beginning of your Pilates session, you are not doing Pilates, right? So there is a lot of things masking, like people are on reformers, but they're doing fitness. But Pilates is actually a system of exercises.
Okay.
Meant to heal the body, not meant to give you a six-pack abs.
Okay. That's
right?
interesting. Okay.
So I think people get caught up with this idea of Pilates as a workout, but Pilates is really a system of movements meant to heal your body by strengthening it's your whole body, but really the deep core muscles that surround your spine. So you can be an amazing Pilates technician and not have a six-pack abs, because we are not working the rectus abdominis, which is that muscle that is on the outermost layer of your abdominals, creating the six-pack abs.
You just dropped something and it was sitting with me and it was like beautiful. And I want to just say it because I don't know if everybody caught it, but the idea of we work out for a specific result instead of the experience of doing the thing that helps our nervous system and our body. And I just need to put that out there again, because that was like for me.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I think about all the bodies that I'm seeing now on the socials where there are these big bodies doing yoga, and there are these other
Which is amazing.
all the sizes
Yeah.
doing, and the criticism and the backlash, of course, that stupid people, give about that. And the idea is that we all start somewhere, and that every part of that is valuable. So I know I talk to a lot of people when they talk about weight loss, and they're like, I lost 2 pounds this week. And I'm like, okay, That's 2 pounds.
How do you feel?
Right. And is
That's
that
really
better
the
for
question,
you?
right?
And is that a part of a larger journey?
Mhm.
Or is it sometimes we're just doing things day to day because they're important? So what I hear you saying is it's the experience of doing it that's reconnecting the person to their body.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I would say, to start off, the biggest hurdle in me getting people to come into my business and do Pilates or wellness or any of those things that we offer is their own self-worth.
Oh,
So, yeah.
okay.
So, and you can pay attention to this, right? A mother, we'll talk about women. I feel like a lot of probably your listeners are women. I'm sure there's men on this listening as well. But my business, as much as I would like all the men, is mostly women.
Okay.
If you, let's say, okay, we've got a doctor's appointment, right? So if the child has a doctor's appointment, a mother will do whatever is required to get that child to that doctor's appointment,
Mhm.
right? Nothing will get in the way, right? Now, let's say they make an appointment for Pilates.
Mm.
Do you think then they're going to let nothing get in the way?
Because it's disposable, right? We have this list of
It's
priorities.
because they don't put their own self-worth,
It's
like,
disposable,
right?
our self-worth.
It's like that saying, right? Like, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first, right? In order to put your child's oxygen mask on, right? But what we do is we don't put our own oxygen mask on first. We have everybody else's oxygen mask on, and then we get whatever's left over.
But think about the order of that, right? And we talk about this we've talked about other episodes about self-care and self-compassion, is that the order of priorities in our lives is dictated by we're on fire. I have to go to work. I have to clean the house. I have to take care of the kids. So it goes back to that regulation of this is a necessary part of my life and I have to elevate the priority, because if not, it's going to be on fire.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And here's the deal, like, right. And it feels, and I get it. Like, I'm a mom of 3 boys. I am constantly doing things, but there are ways to incorporate things, right? Right into this chaos, right? And it does really, really make a difference. So I truly believe that Pilates is for everybody. And there's like a running joke in my family because like when we go to holidays, no one ever wants to tell me about like the thing they're struggling with, because I'm going to tell them that Pilates is the answer.
Right.
And they're like, but I'm like, but it's really true. And I really believe it. And I'm not saying it just because I own a Pilates business. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I have watched it change so many people's lives. I have a client, and I always tell her story, but she came to me after having a laminectomy of your spine, so spinal surgery, right? She had no trust in her body's ability to move safely.
And fear,
And fear that anytime she moves, something's going to happen again and she's going to end up back in surgery. And she did Pilates with me once a week, maybe twice a week, for like over a year. And then that next summer, she sent me a picture of her doing stand-up paddleboard yoga. And she sent me the picture and she said, I never would be in this position if it weren't for you in Pilates. So because of social media and the nature of trends, we think of Pilates princesses and these perfect bodies in the leggings and the tank tops and doing their pulses. That is not really what Pilates is. It is a system of movement that heals your body so that your spine can stay mobile for the rest of your life. And Joseph Pilates would say, you're only as old as your spine is mobile, right?
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it. Because
Right.
what do we see when we see old people?
Over,
They're bent.
right.
And we all look at that and go, oh, I don't want that. And then you stand up really straight.
Right. And I always tell people, we don't do Pilates for a perfect body. If that happens and it meets, there is no perfect body, really. But if Pilates makes your body feel good and you look in the mirror and feel amazing about yourself, amazing, right? But we do Pilates so we can get up and down off the floor with our grandchildren when we're 80.
Yeah.
That is why we do Pilates.
Yeah.
And, watching my parents age, right, has really put into perspective for me, like, I really want my brain to stay healthy. I really want my body to stay healthy, because I don't want to live to 100 if I can't live a full life, right? And my dad would sometimes say to me, like, oh, wait till you're 70 years old. And I'm like, I'm not going to have this problem
Going to
because
be a
I'm
different
doing
kind
all
of
of these
70.
things.
Yes.
Right? Like, so, and I don't say that to him. I say that inside my head, right?
But I love the idea of the reason that you're doing it is not because of a perfect body. You're doing it because you want to be connected to your own life. And I think that's the missing part of a lot of people who set goals around fitness, around body and around self-care, around looking a certain way. And I think that that's a lesson that comes to us because we look at people like celebrities, right? And we go, my gosh, they're so perfect and they're so beautiful. Their whole job is about looking a certain way. Most of us don't have that luxury.
That's right.
So we have to be able to look at it in a way that I'm doing this for my future self. And that's hard because there's not an immediate payoff.
It is really hard. And I will say, what's really helpful is to think about like, not like, oh, I have to do this workout so that I can burn 400 calories on my watch, but to be connected with your body enough and your mind enough to say, what does my body need right now? For example, right? I broke my wrist not this past summer, the summer before, right? And we can talk about fight or flight and how that happened.
Right.
That's a whole other story maybe
Yes,
for a little later.
I remember.
But I just for the first time on New Year's Day did the whole advanced order of the Pilates system since that happened. Because instead of pushing my body and saying, I have to be able to do this even though I'm in pain, I said, what does my body need right now? And I'm going to be okay with this 10 minutes of this. Or like, so it's like, I think we just think that exercise isn't okay unless we hit this certain milestone.
Right.
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 But, put the TV on and do some stretches in the 10 minutes of the commercials, right? I don't think those are commercials anymore.
Sometimes.
I'm aging myself. I'm aging myself.
You don't have much time to watch TV.
I don't watch TV.
No.
But let's say, right, someone is in a state of place in life where they are not mobile at all. Right?
This is really the big giveaway that I want to give people is most people are not moving, myself included, moving the way we should. How do you start, right?
How do you start, right? It's simple. Okay, here's an example, right? What is something that you use every day and you have to get it out? Like every day, like, I don't know, you get up in the morning and you need to do this thing, like a hair dryer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you blow dry your hair every morning, right? So instead of keeping your blow dryer in the bathroom, you put your blow dryer in the kitchen. So now when you get up,
you're moving.
You have to walk to the kitchen, get the blow dryer, come back to the bathroom. You've added 20 more steps to your day.
But it's momentum.
It can be as simple as that. Then when that becomes a routine, there's a guy, and I'm the worst with names of books, so I apologize to everyone in the world. There's a book called Atomic Habits.
Oh, I've seen this. It's all over Amazon. Easy to find. Yeah.
Easy to find. And it's about like tagging the new habit on to something that you already automatically do. I already brushed my teeth, so I am going to do my breathing exercises right before or right after because I already do that, and I'm not going to leave the house without brushing my teeth.
Right. And I think that's brilliant. I always use teeth brushing because people will say to me, how do I start something or how do I do something? And I'm like, well, one day you started brushing your teeth and now you do it every day. And I'll say, hopefully, and I'll say, would you ever leave the house without brushing your teeth? And they're like, no, they're appalled. Right.
Right.
So I think that pairing it also sometimes a small change can be crucial. One of the things that I know when I was kind of going through that mind body journey is I had a hard time connecting. It felt like it was two different people, right? So what I would do is I would do this thing where I would incorporate these moments where I would go, you're going to check in right now. And for me, I associated them with the bathroom, which I've said before, and people think that's nuts. But my thing is I know I'm going to go in there and I'm going to go to the bathroom several times and I'm going to wash my hands.
Right.
Right. So use that time. So I work with patients and I'll say, okay, that's your self-esteem reminder. You look in the mirror and you go, you know what? You got this today or whatever. But I would use it as this time of I'm behind the door. Nobody needs me. Where am I? Right. Yeah. And that sounds like a mind connection, but it was really me checking in with my body going, are you tense?
Yes.
You got to drop your shoulders. You
Yes.
got to unclench the jaw a
Yeah.
little bit, maybe do a breath. And
That's right.
I think those check-ins are a really good start because you talk about breaking your wrist, and I know it's because your brain was ahead of your body.
I was in a
That's it.
place that I was in fight or flight, and I
Mhm.
was dealing with some things, and that has happened to me so many times in my life. Like, I can't even tell you
And the
how many.
world stopped you, didn't it?
It did. Right. And it's so true. Like, I remember one time I broke my metatarsal because I was like, and it's like, right? Like, when I had Bell's palsy after I had my third son, and I had 3 kids under 3. My husband was working, I don't know, 100 hours a week. I don't even know. Like, he would stop home at 5 o'clock and leave again. So it was just like me and these 3 babies, right? And the whole, like, I was saying to myself, I can't do this anymore. Inside my head, I can't keep doing this. And I didn't do anything about it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when he was 8 months old, I got Bell's palsy because I didn't listen.
And your body will tell you anyway.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I bet you every single listener, if they think about this, they can think of examples in their life where their body was like, you don't want to slow down? Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of us could probably think about that. A time when you got sick because you were worn out. For me, it was always falling. Now,
Yes.
knock on wood, haven't fallen in a long time because I'm more mindful now.
Yes.
But I used to fall all the time. And it was almost a joke to people around me how clumsy I was.
Well,
I had bruises and I wouldn't
yes.
know. And it's because my brain was full steam
That's
ahead
right.
and my body was behind.
Right.
But that's a very simple example of a lack of mind-body connection.
Correct.
So mind-body connection doesn't mean that you're a yoga expert.
That's
It just
right.
means that you're paying attention to what your body's telling you.
And also cut yourself some break. I do this for a living, and it happened to me. Nobody's going to be perfect at
You
this.
fell out of
We
whack.
are not humans,
Yeah.
right? Like, we go through cycles. And the way I broke my wrist is I was walking upstairs, up a set of
That's the way it
stairs,
happens.
and I caught my flip-flop, and the way my hand caught the step above it, it went and bent beyond, like, it.
Ouch.
I only caught my fingers on the step, so the heel of my hand went below the step. And that's how it happened, right? Now, for some people, you wouldn't break your wrist doing that because you're not hypermobile. I have that extra thing that I need to deal with. But I think the thing is we all think that the only way that we can be in a place with our bodies and our minds that are okay is that we have to do everything perfect. And it's not like that. It's literally like, okay, today's a new day. Like, what can I do today? What's my little thing that I can do today that is going to help me get through the day, right? And different times and seasons of our lives are going to require different things. Like, for you right now, if you were my coaching client, Deb, I would tell you, since you're so busy growing the businesses, that the one change that I would initially want you to make, not when it's snowy and icy, is to park across the parking lot when you get to work and walk in.
Because it's easy. I'm doing it anyway.
You're coming to work, but you're going to get more steps. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to put on different clothes. You don't have to, right? So that would be like step 1. And then you would come back to me 2 weeks later and you'd be like, oh, this is great. I've got this. And then I'd add something else.
Yeah.
It's a layer, right? You don't say, like, I'm going to change my whole life overnight. Who does that?
But that's why everybody fails.
But that's
the
why
January
we fail.
resolution.
That's what we try to do. And like, people always ask me with my business, like, oh, January is like the best month ever. And I'm always like, there's a little bump with the New Year's resolution people, but those are not the people that stick with it.
Right.
It's the people that come later, usually after the first warm weekend in New Jersey. When you live in a 4-season place,
people don't want to come out in the winter.
There's a nice warm weekend. Everybody goes, oh my God, summer's coming.
Oh, there's that. Yeah. The beach season.
And also, I think in the winter, we like to hibernate, which is kind of okay. So maybe in the winter, that's when you are doing a home workout, right? Like, you have to fit it in to the season of your life is that you're in. When I work with someone who has 3 kids under 3 like me, the way that I would get a workout in when I had that, and my husband, I was like basically solo momming, I would put my twins, who were 2.5-ish, in the double jogging stroller. I would strap my under 6-month-old baby to my chest.
I'm exhausted already.
I lived in Philly. I would walk all the way from Northern Liberties to Race Street Pier, if you're familiar with Philly. I would do a little workout on the pier looking at the water. So I've got mind and body. I'd walk up this steep hill to this playground where I would let the 2.5-year-olds free to run, put them back in, walk all the way home. They would have lunch. They would take a nap. I had to stop doing that when my baby was about 6 months old, because when I would go up the hill, I would think I was going to have a
It's
heart
too
attack.
heavy. Yeah.
Because now I was like way too much weight.
So you have to
But
modify.
that
Yeah.
got me through that 6-month period, right? I didn't have childcare. Who's going to watch 3 kids under 3? I didn't really have a ton of family support. So this was my choice, right? Was it the best choice? I don't know. It worked for me.
It helped.
Right? It
Yeah.
helped my mindset. A lot of people, I think, maybe thought I was crazy, but you know.
But you know, and I think that's the thing, is if you can listen to yourself and you can know what it is you need and then act on it, you're already doing healing work. So I was thinking about how you were saying, like, that one small step, like those extra steps. I do it with people with depression, is that when somebody's very depressed, they're lost in their mind so deeply that their body becomes affected. Their body gets very depressed. So I'll do something as small as, and I want everybody to listen to this one and think about, do you need to do this? Is instead of waking up and not opening your eyes and reaching for the phone and doing that, is sitting up on the edge of the bed first. That one small step changes the trajectory. And then not touching your phone, getting up, getting some water, going to the bathroom. And the longer that you can delay your phone, the longer that you're getting external data and following your internal self versus just clocking out and looking at the phone and saying, I'm going to give everything away to something outside of me.
That's
right.
Yeah.
So that's a small step that we make in depression. Sometimes it's one less hour in bed a day or whatever. So with mind and body connection, where do you think they start? Do they start with movement? Do they start with breath work? Where do you think it starts?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on where you're at.
Okay.
So usually I feel like as an empath, I don't want to go too far, but I get kind of messages, right? Like, I get strong feelings about where somebody's supposed to start. So it does depend, but I try to look at it. If I do a coaching session with someone, we do the intake, and then I try to I have them leave with 3 things. One usually related to food, and we usually look at breakfast first. And that's because if we can get a healthy breakfast going, then that automatically makes you give second thought to what you're eating at lunch naturally. And then that filters down. So if we can adjust breakfast and for a month we can eat a healthy breakfast, all of a sudden at lunch you're going to start to go, oh, well, I ate that healthy food at breakfast and I really
I don't want to ruin that.
And look, I killed it this morning at work because my mind was firing, and you're naturally going to start to make better choices without even trying. And then honestly, by the time we adjust lunch, I almost always don't even have to talk about dinner. So in food, that's kind of the direction we go. Or I take another direction where we look at 80-20.
Okay.
80% of what you eat is supposed to be one way, and 20% is whatever else you want.
Okay.
So, like, for example, let's say we're going to talk about plant-based eating. 80% of what you're going to eat is going to come from a plant. And then 20% is going to be whatever else you want to eat. Doesn't even matter. Could be the worst thing in the world. You could eat bacon, right? Because the 80% of the plants is going to work in your body to increase your health, right? So when we do the 80-20, we look at more like, okay, and this works really well with people that I think are having inflammation problems in their body.
Yeah.
And so when someone has inflammation, the big answer is you got to cut out gluten, you got to cut out dairy, you got to cut out sugar, and you got to cut out meat.
They're all inflammatory.
But that's
and that changes everything.
Yes.
If you get rid of those things,
right?
Dairy, sugar, gluten, meat, right? That leaves plants.
Yes, correct. So, but it's really overwhelming to try to cut all those things out if that's how you're eating. So we actually generally start, I try to get people to start with gluten. And that's strictly because gluten sits in your body for 2 to 3 days. And then So it takes 6 weeks to clear gluten from your body.
Wow.
It takes 3 days to clear dairy.
Okay, so if you make a change with gluten, you're gonna make a
You don't even,
bigger
and you don't
change
even
to your body.
feel it for 6 weeks, right? Sugar is usually last, and that's because sugar creates the same response in your body as heroin.
I've heard this. I've heard they've done tests with
And
mice
so
that they're as addicted to the sugar as they are to a drug.
that's right. And
Yeah.
so people um, when people give up sugar, they have like a withdrawal,
Mhm.
right? So that's always last because I want them to get feeling as good as possible before the withdrawal.
Because that's a
happens.
hard one.
It's so hard.
Okay.
And I tell people, like, when you're going to give up sugar, so let's say somebody's listening and they're like, well, I don't eat dairy and I don't eat meat and I don't eat gluten. So the only thing I really still eat is sugar. So I should give it up. This is what you have to know. For the first week or two, you're going to find yourself standing in the kitchen with the fridge door open or the cabinet door opening, looking around and like not knowing what to put, but knowing you need, because you're actually having withdrawals.
You're feeling like you need something.
Mm-hmm.
It's
But
so
you know
interesting.
you're not going to have sugar.
And you're saying that's physical.
It's physical. It is
Okay.
So your whole body, we were talking about it earlier, but hormones and fight or flight and all that, right? Your whole body is run by hormones. When we hear hormones, we think women,
Right,
and menstruation and menopause and all that stuff. But there are a lot of hormones in your body, and they are what control your body. And when the hormones get out of balance, that is where we have dis-ease or disease, right? Or inflammation in the body, because the hormones are not functioning. And that's why when we first started talking, I said that the nervous system, when your nervous system is in balance and it's moving between fight and flight and rest and digest at a natural pace, your hormones are functioning in the proper way and your body is capable of healing itself.
and you physically feel better because you don't have the interplay of things that shouldn't be there.
Correct.
And that starts with food, movement, and mindfulness.
Correct.
That's a lot of work.
But it's not,
Okay.
if you look at it as small pieces,
Mhm.
right? So tell me one thing. I'm going to put you in the hot seat.
Okay, here we go. Ready. This is a switch.
Tell me one thing you eat that you know you shouldn't eat.
Okay. Gosh.
Just one.
I have a potato passion.
Okay.
Any form of potato
Okay.
is my best friend.
Like French fries.
Every form.
Every form.
Chips, mashed potatoes. Like if potatoes didn't exist, I would be 150 pounds. I'm not lying. So I know that's a problem.
Okay.
And getting married, my problem got exposed because he looked at me one day and he went, you kind of like eat a potato of some type every day. And I was like, oh God, I've been exposed. He didn't shame me, but I was shaming myself.
Okay.
So I know I've got to work on that.
All right. So actually, that would be my last choice for you to give up.
Really?
So tell me something you eat that you know is bad that you're not so attached to.
So I have lactose intolerance. I have celiac disease.
Oh.
So I can't eat gluten.
Okay.
And I'm not supposed to eat dairy.
But you do.
But I love cheese. It's my favorite fruit, vegetable, and everything. It is everything.
Better.
Cheese is my thing. Again, that's hard to give up. Cheese and potatoes together. Come on.
Have you ever tried some of the non-dairy cheese?
I have not been impressed. I would rather give up cheese altogether than eat the weird cheese.
Okay. So if we were working together, I would try to get you to give up cheese because, and here, this would hit so many points for you because you, cheese is not, dairy is inflammatory.
Yeah.
You already just said you're intolerant,
Mhm.
right? So it's already making you feel bad and you're eating it anyway.
Yes.
Which means you're not valuing how you feel enough to not eat it.
Ooh,
Sorry.
she called me out. But it's true because guess what happens when I eat dairy? I feel horrible. And I go, why can't I learn?
Yes.
So I've gotten a little better with
Yes.
eating it less frequently,
Yeah.
but still eating it. And it's that thing about you said about not being perfect is I know that I always have work to do, and I'm very aware of that work. So to me, chipping away at it,
all do.
it's hard.
Just because we do this stuff
Does not mean we got it all together. No.
At
We all have the areas that we're working on. And I think as long as we know what they are, and I know that
Yes.
that's one of mine.
Yes.
And every time I feel like I get closer to incorporating the lesson, you know,
Yes.
you have to like
Yes.
really like fall a lot.
Yeah.
And then you go, you know what? I don't really want to fall again.
Yeah. So when do you eat cheese?
Whenever it's there, which is all the time, at least every day.
You do eat cheese every day?
I do. I eat it every day. Is that bad?
Oh, Deb.
Is that bad?
Well, because it makes you feel bad.
But I don't eat a lot of it.
But what would you feel like if you didn't?
I'd feel better.
You don't know because you eat it every day, right?
Every day. Well, no, there are days I've gone without it and I've noticeably felt better. So my first moderation was I don't keep as much in the house.
Okay.
And that was sort of like my first step. And then my next thing is I'm finding more things to eat that don't have it in there, like trying to eat a salad without cheese.
Okay.
So to me, I know that this is like, I want to be at 100% perfect.
Yeah.
But every day I'm like a little bit closer, but I probably need to go a little faster.
I think that there's a little hurdle, right? There's a little hurdle. If you're still eating it every day, you're never getting to the point where you could actually feel
the
what
relief.
you could feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're feeling, when you don't eat it, you're feeling a little better, but it takes about 3 days to clear your body.
So I need a 3-day fast to know what it's going to feel like.
5. Because you need 2 days to feel the feeling.
I could do that. I'm going to say it right now.
Okay.
On film.
Challenge.
I'm going to do it. 5 days.
No.
None.
Dairy.
No dairy. 5 days.
Right.
I could do that.
Okay.
The next time you see me, I'll be glowing.
That's right. She will. I mean, you legit will.
So you think that the big ones people should concentrate on are dairy, gluten, sugar, and meat. So what do you think about, and I love this because this is your area, what do you think about veganism, vegetarianism? What do you think of all those different kinds of choices? Because there's a lot out there and people are saying terrible things. And there are people doing all kinds of, I had a patient on the carnivore diet who did amazing and all he ate was meat.
Yes.
So what do you think of all of those things?
Yeah. I think that what you want to be doing is you want to be eating unprocessed. So you can be a vegan or a vegetarian and say, I only eat plants, but your whole diet could be filled with crap. Like it's to processed crap, right? That is totally possible that you could be a vegan, you could be a vegetarian. It happens with teenagers a lot.
They go through that phase where they want to do that.
They want to do that, but they're eating junk, right?
Right.
So if you want to ask yourself the question, like, could my great-grandparents get this food item?
That's a good one.
And if your great-grandparents couldn't get this food item, then you really shouldn't be eating.
So versus a jar of guacamole versus an avocado.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I love that because the advent of processed food has correlated with the advent of increased obesity.
Well, and like, think about this. Like, okay, your great-grandparents could have baked a loaf of bread, right? But could they have kept that bread on their counter for 2 weeks without it going moldy?
Right. That's horrifying.
No.
Some of the things that last forever.
Correct.
Because I buy the gluten-free breads and those things, the expiration date is like 3 months.
Yes, it's hard. And so that is a tricky thing about being celiac or needing to be gluten-free is it's very easy to replace those items with processed gluten-free items. And it's actually gotten easier and easier over time. Yes. Because it's become more popular, so there's more choices out there, and they even taste better than they used to.
They do, but the problem is a lot gluten-free does not mean healthier, and that's the pitfall I found. Is I remember when I first was gluten-free back, years ago when I found this out, and I remember going to Whole Foods because they were the only people that had anything. I don't know about y'all, but I can't afford Whole Foods. I didn't have money like that, and I remember going in there and buying like $7 cupcakes and being so excited, and they were terrible. They're all butter, right?
Yes, they were terrible.
So then I would get a stomachache anyway. So
because you had dairy.
Because I had dairy. So it's like, I think there was something Michael Pollan said, who writes about food, and he said that there's a simple formula, and I've always kind of stuck with this as a guideline, and I don't always follow it, but I like it. And he says, eat food, mostly plants.
Yes.
So it's like eat
Correct.
real
And that's
things
that
and
same
mostly
like
plants.
80-20,
Right.
right? And that's the thing. Like you love your processed foods, eat only 20%
Right.
and eat everything else non-processed, right? And I think part of the hurdles here is that our lives are so busy.
So where
And
do we lean
so
into?
the processed foods are
Right.
easy. You get home, you're starving. So one of the things that I do and that I teach my clients to do is to make mason jar salads. And you can make them as complex or as simple as you want. So for me, what I do is I usually have cucumbers at the bottom, then I add something of color depending on the season. So like sweet potatoes in the winter, peppers in the summer, and then lettuce. But the salad items will stay fresh for up to 10 days, depending on how long you let them sit in the fridge before you put them in. So if you put them in the mason jar right away, they'll last up to 10 days.
So 10 days is pretty remarkable because I hate food prep because by the third day, everything's gross.
Everything is bad.
So you're saying you can make that and in 10 days, it's still just as good.
Correct.
Wow.
And it hits a lot of items for me because I like things to be like pretty. So then when you open the fridge, the mason jar salads look
color,
really pretty
right,
in the glass containers. So you could do this in like a plastic Tupperware container. It doesn't last as long and it doesn't look as pretty, but you could do it if that's what you have.
Well, we eat first with our eyes.
That's right. And then for me, what I do is I make the jar simple and then I add stuff. So I'll add egg, avocado, whatever I have in my fridge left over from the night before to make the salad more filling and more complex. Some of my clients like to make the actual mason jar more complex. So they'll add other things into the mason jar like quinoa, and you can't add avocado because that does not last. So you got to be picky and choosy. But some people will add more specific things into the mason jar. I like to change it up. So I keep kind of like my base salad and then I add different things when I open it. And it's great because your salad gets like perfectly mixed. So I just take a little olive oil, a little sea salt, shake it up. If you like lemon, you can add lemon. I don't really like that. And then I just add stuff onto my salad and I have like a healthy meal in like 5 minutes.
But it's your self taking care of your future self.
Correct.
This is what I love. If you look at it from a mental health lens, how I look at everything,
yes, please.
Is that's you saying, right now I'm in the right frame of mind that I know I have to take care of myself. And I know once the week hits, I'm not going to do that.
That's right.
So I'm going to take care of my future self. It's just like we take care of our children. We send them with a lunch to school because we know that they need to be taken care of in the future, right?
Correct.
Your current self has to take care of what you know. You know that Tuesday is going to come and you're going to need a lunch. So let yourself take care of it.
Correct.
Right.
And I think the thing is don't get frustrated with yourself. Like, and she's talking about how it's connected to mental health. I can see a pattern. When I'm struggling with my life, I make them less. And when things are not so hard, I'm consistent with making them. So if you're consistent with making them for a while, don't get mad at yourself if you miss a week. Just recognize it for what it is and that you need to hop back on the wagon.
And it's that whole idea of being on or off. And that goes back to perfectionism, is that, well, I'm not doing that anymore. Or people that go to the gym in January and they go, well, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm off. We're never really on or off. We're just working. We're improving.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't matter how quickly it's happening. After I broke my wrist, it took me a year and a half to get back to the place I was before. A year and a half. And it's my job.
Right.
I go to work and I do this, and it took me a year and a half. So you need to give yourself some grace to let it be a roller coaster, highs and lows, valleys and peaks.
Expect it.
Yes.
That's the thing we talk about in therapy all the time. Is people will come in and they'll go, it's not working. Things got harder. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's going to get harder because we're talking about hard things. But the goal is that you have to anticipate that life is not going to be straight level baseline all the time. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. But what is in the baseline and what is required, what can't go up and down.
Yeah.
And it has to be that you're paying attention to your body and how it affects your mind.
That's right. Correct.
Right. So that's why I like the idea of breath work. And it's something I do a little bit in practice, but I know you actually do breath work at the studio. So if if there is there an exercise that you can sort of take us through
Yeah,
that people can listen and do while we're
totally.
here?
Yeah,
That'll be
absolutely.
a fun little
So,
experiment.
so this is called 5-7-8 breath work. And it's a great breath work to use. Like, when you recognize the signs that your body is feeling really stressed, that you feel like you're in fight or flight. And some of those signs for me are like, it feels like my energy is up in my chest. My brain doesn't feel that focused. Feels like I'm kind of like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I'm going back
You're
and
moving
forth.
fast.
Right. I'm moving really fast. And so you stop. And I usually like to take just like kind of like a couple of regular breaths first, because it usually by this point I've gotten myself into a tizzy, right? And then you do 5 counts to inhale. So you inhale through your nose in 5 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You hold the inhale for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you feel how the energy in the room changed?
It immediately made me realize how tense I was,
Yeah.
because the difference in the way I felt when I was paying attention
Yes.
versus before,
Yes.
when we're in our
Right.
heads and we're talking,
That's
and
right.
all of a sudden when I'm paying attention to what my body is doing,
That's right.
I'm going, oh, I'm a little tense. I
Right.
got to slow down. And
Correct.
that literally took a minute.
It took a minute,
A
not
minute.
even
Yeah.
practically. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can make, like, for me, like, because I am so connected to energies and I read the energies, like the whole energy of the room went,
All of the noise.
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
So, how do you think that people should incorporate breath work into a typical day? What's the best way to do that?
So, I mean, it's really nice if you can tie it, just like we talked about earlier, to something you already do. So you brush your teeth in the morning and then maybe just sit down on the toilet right there. I mean, you don't have to be going to the bathroom.
Right,
Just sit
right.
down on the toilet lid, right? And do it. 5
Because
counts
nobody
in.
will interrupt you in there.
That's right.
Yeah, that's really
Yes,
smart.
that's
Okay.
right. 5 counts in, hold, 8 counts out. For me, as like a busy mom of teenagers, my whole life is in the car. So the car is a great way. Like so I've got Deborah's new plan. You want to know what your
Yeah.
new plan is?
Go ahead. Let's do it.
She drives to work.
Okay.
It's not snowy or icy.
No, this
Don't
was
do
not
yeah,
a fun day
okay.
today.
Yeah, so
16
don't do that on a
degrees.
snowy or icy
Yeah.
day. She parks further away than she would normally choose.
Mhm.
She sits in her car. She does her 5, 7, 8 breath for a
Feel
couple.
my new routine.
I know. And then she walks further than she normally does
Mhm.
to the front door.
And I go 5 days without cheese.
That's right. And here's the deal. And there's a difference. So just to give yourself a little leeway, there is a difference in types of dairy. So cheese is a pretty big offender of problems because of the way it's processed, and it concentrates the protein of cheese down. Usually when people have issues with cheese, it's because of the protein. And then I would say like milk is a different kind of offender, but butter, and you're gonna like me now,
Oh,
it's different,
so I
right?
can have butter.
You can have a certain kind of butter, right? So you can get a healthier butter called clarified butter that is going to have, or even better, you can get Miyoko's cashew butter, because that's my favorite butter. And I don't know if you've ever tried cashew cheese.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
It sounds horrifying.
it's
Okay,
delicious.
but for you, I will try it.
That's a conversation for another
Okay.
day. Okay. All you need to do is cut it out. Honestly, I do believe I have not eaten dairy. So I'm 48 years old, and I have not eaten dairy since I was like 27.
Wow.
So I am the wrong person to ask when you say, like, is this alternative good? I think they're all good because I don't
Because well,
know
that's the way I
what.
feel about gluten, is that some of the gluten-free products
Yes.
to me taste better than
Fine. You don't
anything.
know. And so the
Right.
same, and that's what you have to hold on to. The same thing is going to happen with the dairy and the cheese, right? So usually when someone feels really passionately that they don't like the taste of the alternatives, I tell them not to have any for a while because you want to like forget what the other stuff tastes
And then
like.
when you taste it, it will taste
Reintroduce
delicious.
it later.
Yes.
Yes. Just like if you cut out sugar for 2 weeks and then you have something that's sugary, it will taste horrible.
Right.
Try it.
Right.
You'll be like, oh my God, that's awful.
Right.
Because our taste buds adapt.
They do. And I find that when you're eating healthy, you begin to crave those foods.
Absolutely.
Which is a wild, shocking thing.
Absolutely.
So this is great. So you coached me, and I have 3 things. I am going to walk further. That's if I can do that. That's easy.
Yes.
I'm going to do the breathing, which
Yes.
I try to do, but I don't hold myself to it.
Yes.
And I'm going to do a cheese detox in the next podcast we record. If I'm crazy, that's why. I love that. So basically, that was our template for the episode. Is
Yes.
that there are always small things you can do
Yes.
to reconnect your mind and body, and they don't have to be monumental, and they don't have to feel like a major change. And nobody in my life will even know that I'm doing these things, except my husband when I'm really sad from cheese withdrawal.
Accurate. And I always say small choices can change your life.
Yeah.
That is like the theme of everything I do. So when you read that list, and I was laughing because I'm never really a guest on a podcast. And my favorite part about podcasting is reading people's bios at the beginning and watching like the look on their face as I talk about all their accomplishments, because most people don't think about their accomplishments in that way. And if you take all those different things that you talked about, the tying theme to it all is small choices can change your life.
Absolutely. I agree. And I want to kind of end on that because I think that's the message I want everybody to take away, is that we all have to work on connecting our mind and body. And that is a major, huge undertaking. That is not something that any of us do easily, but we're never going to get there if we just go, I'm disconnected, and that's the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is make some small changes, understand and acknowledge those things, and look at how does that connection feel for you? Are you being mindful? Are you listening to what your body's telling you? I want you watching your nervous system in the ways that Sue was talking about. Are you in fight or flight when you need to be? And what do you do with that energy? Or are you just walking around with that all the time? And then we're going to make some small changes to food, to movement, to paying attention to our body, and that we don't all have to be perfect tomorrow. But perfection is a goal we're never going to reach. So let's just be a little bit better, and better for us, for nobody else, just us. So thank you, Sue, for being here.
Thank
this was
you.
exciting and wonderful.
Yes.
And
I want to add one thing onto yours. Think about this when you mess up. Do we tell a little baby that they're not going to be able to walk when they fall down the first time?
Oh, that one's a good one. I'm stealing that.
Yeah, sorry.
That's beautiful.
How to throw that in, right? Like,
yeah, no, that's
we accept
beautiful.
that falling is a part of learning to walk. Why can't we accept that messing up is a part of learning to be a better person?
Yeah, that's a good one, because I have to remind myself of that.
Yes, that's right.
So I would say tell everybody where you can find them, where the studio is, where they can find you on the socials.
Okay. So my Instagram, which is where I am the most, is at opal_wellness_studio. My podcast is the Well to You podcast. They has an Instagram called at Well to You podcast. Our brick and mortar is in Hanfield, but every single one of our Pilates mat and yoga classes are hybrid, which means you can Zoom in from your living room. All of my wellness coaching is hybrid as well. You can come into the studio. You can do it right from the comfort of your own living room. I think that's all the things. I always forget something I do because I always do too much. My new endeavor, which I don't even think I told Deborah yet, is I'm doing a year-long certification to become an herbalist.
Oh, I love this. And there's so much talk
excited.
about functional medicine right now and different approaches
Yes.
that as soon as you get that rolling, come back and talk to us.
I'm super
I have a lot of
excited
questions
about
already. Lots. Very good for you. So thank you, my sunshines, for being here with us today. And we hope this episode gave you some great tips, and we hope to see you next time. So until then, bye.